Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. To my house guests, we're outside, but you make yourselves comfortable. And if you're visiting my channel for the first time and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all your notifications. It's about 7:45 p.m. and I thought, let me come and chat to you in the park, because really I want these coffee chats to be as informal as possible. Let me show you what I have today, because it has been another hot one in London. It's coming to dusk now. As you can see, the sun is behind me and it has been very hot, so I've got my trusty water, not coffee today. I'd like to know what you're drinking, so put it down in the comments. I've just left Gina. She celebrated her birthday today. Happy birthday, Gina!
Thank you.
Glad you had a good day.
I had a fabulous day.
You guys, I came late. But Gina
And 5 hours.
Yeah, really bad.
Okay, right at the end. Right, so you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. So happy birthday, Gina.
Thank you.
Put your big head in.
My head. Look at my head, man.
She's 52 today. She doesn't look it, but she's 52.
Yeah.
So wish her happy birthday in the comments.
Thanks. Alright.
Thank you, love you.
Bye.
Happy birthday to you.
And I thought I'd just have a stroll in the park. Very busy, lots of kids. Before we even get into this episode, I want to just highlight a couple of comments from episode 5 where we talked about firsts. And here they are. This comment is from Wendy7404. Yes, low iron levels is a thing for us black women. Please do monitor that, Chez. I take resveratrol instead of red wine. Please research on it. I enjoyed walking through the city with you. Thank you for spending your bank holiday with us. I don't like routine, and I don't like reserving stuff for special days like birthdays neither. I want every day to be special. My pastor used to say, you cannot give what you don't have. I fill up my tank so I can serve my loved ones. I watched this on a Thursday evening. It's a holiday in Bavaria and I am drinking coffee with milk. Thanks, Chez. This comment is from Patricia Starkey 4951. Drinking no sugar added fruit juice. After my husband died 11 years ago, sick for 10 years, my therapist helped me with firsts to take care of myself. My first was a manicure. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this coffee chat. Agree with having firsts and taking care of ourselves. As always, I like to thank my contributors for taking the time to write comments. I always appreciate the interaction you give and audience participation. It is greatly appreciated. So in episode 6, I wanted to talk about, this coronation is done and dusted, but a couple of people DM'd me and wanted me to talk about what Ando had said.
A bit of me that we've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that.
So when she said that, there was a lot of outrage, which I understand. The people who DM'd me just wanted my thoughts on that. So I'll give you my thoughts. What she said was insensitive as far as I'm concerned. I will tell you why, but first I wanted to explore why people thought it was racist, because if you look at her background, she's a product of an interracial relationship. Her mum is white, English I think, and her dad is black, Ghanaian. So similar to Meghan, but the with the reverse in terms of parentage. And her children are biracial. So that's why I say it's not racist. I just think that her saying what she said, she may have a not skewed viewpoint, but I guess an idealised viewpoint. When you talk about the institution, I think people have a hard time separating the institution from the family. It's one thing to have a diverse Abbey. Westminster Abbey was diverse, is what she said, and that's another term that I hate. Well, that's another term that I dislike. Let me not say hate. That hate is too strong a word. Yeah, so the Abbey is one thing. A family is a completely different thing altogether. The Queen giving permission to Harry to marry Meghan is kind of a progression in itself, because I never thought I'd see anything like that in my lifetime. Not that I was looking for it, because I don't, contrary to popular belief, I don't think about the royal family. I just make commentary on things that kind of do affect us socially, directly or indirectly, as it relates to them. But I don't think about the royal family like that. So I never, why would I think that the royal family would be diverse? Just because we live in an age of diversity and political correctness. Anyway, Meghan is part of that family. She's biracial, as everyone knows. But realistically, if you, and this may be an unpopular opinion, and you may not share my views, which is fine, but if you put Meghan and her husband and her kids, I don't know what this boy's doing with this water gun, sorry guys, because I already got sprayed with a water gun when I entered the park. Anyway, at first glance, if you saw the balcony with Meghan and Harry and the kids and their children there, if you didn't know her background, it wouldn't make too much of a difference. Don't take anything negative. Don't twist what I'm saying and try and make something negative. If you put someone of Adjo Ando's complexion on the balcony, then yes. Remember, they're both mixed race, but yeah, that would be immediately noticeable. Anyway, when I was asked to talk about this, I thought about when I gave blood last month and why I was prompted to go down to Buckingham Palace. I've heard this saying growing up, that we all bleed the same. If you think about it, what does that actually mean? We all bleed the same. If you sustain an injury, you'll bleed. That applies to every single person, as far as I know. I'm not a scientist. But everyone's blood is not the same. So if someone says we all bleed the same as a way to qualify why everyone should be equal, it's not a strong enough argument. Everyone has different blood types. From the one drop of blood you can tell whether you're male or female, what your ethnicity is. We're not the same. I gave blood and I went down to Buckingham Palace just to envisage what, because I've never actually seen the family on the balcony, and it didn't move me. I wouldn't have got outraged if I saw them all standing there. What for? That's their home. And then I thought about what would happen if a Caucasian actress went to the Middle East or Africa and saw one of the royal families on their balconies or equivalent. Just humour me, because I don't know what systems work in those territories. But you can understand the outrage if a white actress were to say something similar of the royal families of those territories. Anyway, I wanted to open up the conversation a bit wider with regard to why we as minorities. Let's just go with what we're told, what we're conditioned socially to accept, that we're in the minority. So as a woman and as a person of colour, another term I can't stand, why would you want to go somewhere where you're not welcomed? Why would you want to go somewhere where you're not wanted? It doesn't make sense to me. And that's why this episode of Coffee Chats is called D.I.Y, do it yourself. Some of you may remember what Meghan said in her speech. I think she was addressing the United Nations, I can't be sure, but here's the clip anyway.
Women need a seat at the table. They need an invitation to be seated there. And in some cases, where this isn't available, well then you know what? Then they need to create their own table.
The point of me saying all of this is that we, as minorities, whether we're women or whether we're ethnic minorities, we should not be afraid to create our own spaces. I've seen loads of women's private members clubs springing up over London. I've always been intrigued by private members clubs because it's like, not a secret society, but it's like, oh, only men allowed. We now have women's private members clubs, which is great as far as I'm concerned. I'd love to join one. We have things like the Black Lawyer Society, we have things like the BBC Asian Network. And what I've realised is that when we create our own spaces, the powers that be who set up these social constructs to solely benefit them, when we create our own spaces, they get mad. Harry and Meghan are an example of this. They tried but were unsuccessful in reaching a compromise within the institution. Consequently, the institution rejected them. However, because of their shared values and they know that they're stronger together, they've gone on to create their own successful path, regardless of what anyone else wants to say. There is a heavy price to pay, however, and for them, it's the constant global vilification fueled perpetually by the negative reports from the British tabloid press. We don't have to be everywhere. We have all of these organisations exclusive to our demographic, and you know, even the Mobo Awards, there was a big hoo-ha about that when it started. And for those of you who don't know, the Mobo Awards were started by Kanye King. I think it's over 20 years ago now, and it was to celebrate music of black origin, and people of a different persuasion were in uproar. Allow us to celebrate us. You don't want to celebrate us, it's not a problem. We can celebrate us. Don't stop us from celebrating us. The same people that had, rightly so, complained about what Adjoa Andoh had said. Unfortunately, the majority are the same people that have an issue when we as women or we as people of colour have our own things. Let us be free to celebrate ourselves. Let us be free to have our own spaces. There's a saying that my mum says, bones are not provided where dogs are not invited. And it always makes me laugh. It's just another way of saying, don't push yourself where you're not welcome. And that's the purpose of this video, just to remind ourselves to start our own stuff, create our own things, create our own spaces, and stop trying to shoehorn yourself into spaces where you're not welcome. So my encouragement to you is just rethink where you are in your life. Have you allowed your gender, your ethnicity, your socio-economic background to stop you from progressing? Are you using that as an excuse not to really fulfill your purpose in this life? And why are you taking notice of people who literally have no bearing on your destiny? Don't wait for other people to help you to get to where you are. Create your own space, and those that are like-minded will happily join you. You need to look for like-minded people. Stop trying to push yourself into spaces where you know you don't belong and where you're not welcome. There were celebrations in London for the 75th anniversary of the arrival of the Empire Windrush into Tilbury in Essex, bringing the first wave of Caribbean migrants to Britain. And they were invited to come here, contrary to what you may hear. They were invited here to rebuild the country after the Second World War. Now, these people included my grandparents, my grandmother specifically, and my parents. These people became nurses, worked on the underground for London Transport, on the underground, on the buses, you know, helped to rebuild the country. And even though they were invited and they were classed as British citizens, the discrimination that they received was, let me just say that the generations before us are extremely strong, because what they had to deal with, I mean, it's a lot more subtle now, but at that time it was in your face. And not only were they treated like that, with regard to institutions such as churches, the established church in this country, our parents and grandparents were excluded. They were denied access. So that's why they started their own groups in each other's homes, and the congregations grew, and that's why we have the black church. The black church in this country, Pentecostal church in this country. Another institution that they were denied access was the banking system. And as a result, they couldn't get loans to buy houses. So they started their own savings scheme called the partner system. This article is from theguardian.com on 16th of June 2023. Windrush Partner Hand Savings Scheme celebrated at Bank of England Museum. Among the challenges faced by the Windrush generation when they arrived to work in Britain in the 1940s, 50s and 60s was the refusal by many banks and building societies to allow them to open accounts, deposit savings or take out loans. Instead, they set up their own community schemes based on those that had existed for generations in the Caribbean and elsewhere that relied on trust. Now the Bank of England is hosting an exhibition in partnership with Museum and the National Caribbean Heritage Museum on Partner Hand, a collective savings scheme that is still thriving 75 years after the Empire Windrush docked at Tilbury in Essex. Britain's banking system didn't welcome us as their clients, said Catherine Ross, who came to England as a 7-year-old in 1958. The reason why we came was to make money, but we had nowhere to keep it safe. People were forced to keep cash under their mattresses. The new arrivals turned to a centuries-old system whereby people banded together in groups for the purpose of saving, known as Partner Hand. It was a type of ROSCA, rotating savings and credit association, used by people around the world, especially when access to traditional banking services is limited. Under the system, a group of people agreed to save money together over a set period of time, with each individual handing their cash to one of their number for safekeeping. Each week, one partner receives a lump sum made up of that week's total contributions. Trust was a huge factor, said Ross, but most people set up partner hands with people from their island, so you knew who you were involved with. Her parents resented their exclusion from the banking system, she said. We were invited to come to Britain and we assumed we were wanted and there would be fair play. Instead, we had to work as a community to look after ourselves. For her parents, the partner hands was a lifeline, she said, but they also used the under-the-bed system. The exhibition includes interviews with and photographs of members of the Windrush generation that use partner hands. Savings were used to fund businesses, buy homes, and pay for weddings and funerals. Partner hand is part of the extraordinary contribution that the Windrush generation and their descendants have made to life in the UK, said Jennifer Adam, the curator at the Bank of England Museum. It is the first in a series of planned exhibitions at the bank relating to themes of financial exclusion. And this is how my grandmother and her contemporaries bought their properties, which have remained in families for the last couple of generations. So my point is that our parents and grandparents had it a lot tougher than we will have it in this generation, and they managed to push through. They met many obstacles. They found a way to get over those obstacles.
I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys so much. You literally have no idea. So let me know what you think. And as always, I'll select 2 comments to be featured on the next episode. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Well, it's evening at the moment, but enjoy, whenever you're watching this video, enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll catch up in the next episode of Coffee Chats.